He's got all the power. He lives on a fucking compound.
Mm-hmm.
His daughter is getting married off. It's a happy event. His kids are all going to be rich. He's rich as fuck. People are coming in there asking him a favor on their wedding day. This is someone who came, as we would later find out, came to this country alone without anyone.
Yep.
What's up, guys? If you're not... what year did you say that video was?
That was 99.
Okay. So now you're like heavily involved in everything. Because we're at this point, obviously, you're now even going to city council. But between then, I think a really important point that I was completely uneducated on that you walked me through on the phone about Scientology that can help people understand why they're able to hold such an iron fist over at least part of Clearwater is how they're essentially building their portfolio for the church. So you talked about Miscavige is essentially buying all this real estate all over Clearwater and in other places, but let's focus on Clearwater, and filling it with nothing. He'll own buildings that are essentially abandoned ghost towns that are near the Scientology Center, so that it's almost like they create a Scientology ghost town for their entire part of town, which, by the way, also costs the city of Clearwater untold amounts of money for, if real businesses were able to go in there and actually add to the economy.
There are very popular downtown areas right around us. Dunedin is 10 miles away at the most, down the Fort Harrison Boulevard, right on the water the same way Clearwater is. They have a happening Main Street there. It's a much smaller city than Clearwater, but people, dine there, shop there. It's an incredibly popular spot, especially for people in Clearwater who have nowhere else to go. And there's another place, Safety Harbor, which is right nearby as well. Very wonderful place to go and have a meal, and the place is always popular. We're dead. And we have been ever since Scientology snuck into town in 1975. They have turned it into a nuclear radioactive dead zone. And they like it that way. They have a campus there that Miscavige wants to keep people away from. Miscavige doesn't want prying eyes seeing anything that we shouldn't see.
Well, he's so small, I can barely see him. So,
well, there you go. You can take some binoculars with you and look down at them. But the thing is, there are people that I'll encounter. Like when I was running my first campaign for city council 4 years ago, knocking on doors, introducing myself, everyone had stories. Everyone had questions. Everyone was concerned. Pretty much every candidate says when you knock on the door, the first thing people ask is, "What are you going to do about Scientology?"
Oh, wow!
And I have the ability to say, "Well, I've been helping people abused and defrauded for 25 years now."
Wow!
And you may have seen me on Leah Remini's show, Scientology in the Aftermath. And so immediately people say, give me that clipboard, I want to sign a petition for you, and you got my vote. So that helped me in the first campaign, and that got me elected, because it was pretty much this crazy guy talking about Scientology with no political career before this.
Outsider, yeah.
Yeah.
And you also said, like, people, you were telling me on the phone, people on the council historically are very afraid to talk about it publicly. Obviously, they may talk about it privately and not like it, but there's a fear there.
Well, historically, that wasn't always the case. I mentioned Gabe Casares, who was the mayor when they snuck into town. Gabe continued to actively speak out against Scientology for the rest of his life. And I got to know him when I moved there in 2000, and we became friends. So I spent a lot of time with him. And also Lieutenant Ray Emmons, who was the police lieutenant who was in charge of investigating Scientology for 20 years. I got to know him pretty well. Now, at that point, there was such an uproar. No one was afraid of taking on Scientology. Everyone on the council understood that this was a problem. And in 1982, after the FBI raids and all sorts of other stuff was uncovered about what they did in Clearwater, the city council held hearings in our council chambers for a week where they brought in an attorney who was representing a lot of people who had been former Scientologists or ripped off by them. And he brought in people like Paulette Cooper, the woman who wrote the book about Scientology and was attacked. L. Ron Hubbard's son, L. Ron Hubbard Jr., he came to testify.
When did he leave his father's care?
They were working together in the 50s, and I think somewhere in the 70s they had a falling out. Hubbard Sr., who was in hiding at that point, Jr. tried to have him declared dead because there was no sign of him. So he went to court and tried to get this done, and then they faked. Well, they didn't fake, but they couldn't bring Hubbard forward because they would clap cuffs on him and take him away. So they would do things like I think he wrote a signature on something and they put I don't know. They tried to pretend that, hey, look, it's a signature.
He's alive.
He's alive. Yeah. So by then there was a family rift, and Junior had written a book with another co-author, ripping into Dad.
He knew it was all a scam.
Yeah. Yeah, but then they attacked him viciously, and Junior said, "Okay, I'm gonna settle, and I'll take back everything. Just leave me alone, give me the money, and I'll shut my mouth." So for a week there were these hearings, and Scientology had the option to come and give their own testimony. And they refused. At the end of the week, their attorney, who's not a Scientologist, he was just the top criminal attorney in the city. They always paid, the guy who is the big hotshot, they'll hire them. And he came and talked for like 10 minutes saying, "This is nothing. This is nonsense. We are not even going to respond to any of this." I got videotapes of that entire week's worth of testimony, and I put that online back in '99, and you can still see it on that channel. So if you're interested at all in seeing what it was like in 1982 when no one was afraid on the council to take them on,
versus now,
that's what it was like. And unfortunately, over the decades, that faded away.
Is that because more and more Scientologists settled in Clearwater, and because of the financial influence Miscavige has?
No.
Why is it?
What it is this was a problem that Clearwater itself couldn't solve. So they went to the state officials. They went to federal officials. They said, "We need help." And people on the higher levels, they said, "Are they going to come after me? Are they going to attack me?" It's a religion. So no one helped. Clearwater at one point passed a law saying that if you're not a religion, but if you're I can't even think of a simple phrase like nonprofit. Okay. If you're a nonprofit operating
like
here in the city,
501c3 type.
Yeah. You need to open up your books for us to check out. And clearly they wanted to be able to see Scientology's books. Scientology took them to court, and they won. And
how'd they win?
They said, "Listen, we have religious standing here. You can't just force us to open our books to you." And the court made the city pay them $1 million. After that, the city said, "We can't afford this." And no one's helping. let's just shut up about it. And
that's what did it.
Yeah. So by the time we came to town with the LMT in 2000, the city was upset with us for bringing trouble to the city. They had Scientology off the front page of the paper. And us coming there brought Scientology back to the paper. And people in City Hall thought, well, we're the problem. If we weren't causing all this trouble, then Scientology, who are the ones who are going nuts in the streets, protesting us, this would all quiet down and no one would even know Scientology was here, which was nonsense.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because, from 75 on, nobody wanted to go downtown because of Scientology. And when I came to town, one thing that Scientology did was protest the police department. They were marching around the police department at one point.
Why?
Because Sid Klein, the police chief, was investigating Scientology, So they were walking around with signs saying, Sid Klein, what's your crime? Sid Klein, what's your crime? So I came to town and I knew what the police had been going through. And one of the first things we did was go to Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast. And the Sid Klein and his police chiefs were all around him. And I thought, well, I'm going to go say hi. And I went over to him and I put out my hand and said, it's a pleasure meeting you. I want you to know I'm a big fan of the Clearwater Police. And he wouldn't shake my hand. He just glared at me and said, if you get my way, I'll arrest you. And I went, oh, this is not what I expected when I moved here to Clearwater. And
did he think you were a Scientologist?
No, he thought I was a pest. I was causing problems that he was going to. But that was the general feeling.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.